Hi, I'm Mark, and welcome to the weekly Outside Views report on the politics in Africa and Arabia. Even after a new attempt at international mediation, there is no hope of an end to the war in Ukraine anytime soon. And you would say Ukraine, Africa? Because after talks in Kiev, an African delegation led by South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa also appealed to Kremlin chief Vladimir Putin for negotiations between the two sides at the weekend. However, Russia's president showed no willingness to make concessions at the meeting in St. Petersburg. The Ukrainian head of state, Volodymyr Zelensky, had previously also rejected negotiations with Moscow. The Russian war of aggression against the neighboring country has now lasted almost 16 months, and there was heavy fighting again at the weekend. The British Ministry of Defense, citing its own secret services, spoke of high losses on both sides. And in Beijing, the foreign ministers of China and the United States also discussed the situation. In the West, some governments continue to hope that Beijing could exert a positive influence on Moscow. And under Ramaphosa's direction, half a dozen African states campaigned for a peace solution with the two warring factions. The South African leader said on Saturday, "We are convinced that the time has come for both sides to start negotiations and end this war." According to the TASS news agency, Putin spoke of a balanced approach by the African friends in the Ukraine crisis. However, there was no concrete progress. The African delegation also included representatives from Egypt, Senegal, Zambia, the Republic of the Congo, Uganda, and the Comoros. According to their own statements, their peace initiative includes a 10-point plan. Many African countries are suffering from the war because they depend on grain and fertilizers from Russia and Ukraine, which are now lacking, of course. And many experts in the West doubt that Moscow is actually interested in ending the war. The US Institute for War Studies in Washington, for example, sees no real interest there. Moscow has shown no intention of actually entering into a peace process. Even after advances from China and Brazil, Russia was basically open to negotiations, but nothing more. They spoke of a false willingness. Rather, Moscow is concerned with unsettling the West and weakening military support for Ukraine. Putin, who ordered the invasion of the neighboring country on February 24th last year, once again blamed Ukraine for the lack of peace talks. Kiev has repeatedly made it clear that the withdrawal of the Russian occupying forces is a condition for talks in Ukraine. Russia, however, insists on recognizing several illegally annexed Ukrainian territories as Russian, not just the Crimean Peninsula. In the midst of the ongoing counteroffensive, Zelensky thanked Western partners for their military aid, though. "Germany, thank you for your continued strength in protecting lives from Russian missile terror," is what he said in a video message. The Ukrainian ambassador to Germany, Alexei Makeyev, had previously asked for more support in a German newspaper. And with a view to the NATO summit on July 11th and 12th in Vilnius, Lithuania's capital, Makeyev called for Ukraine to be given a clear path to membership. However, US President Joe Biden stressed that Ukraine could not hope for preferential treatment on its way to possible membership. Kiev must meet the same standards as other countries in the transatlantic alliance, is what Biden said in Philadelphia on Saturday. "I'm not going to make it any easier," he said. And the New York Times reported that Russia was responsible for the destruction of the Kakhovka Dam in southern Ukraine a week and a half ago. The evidence clearly indicated that the dam was damaged by an explosion triggered by the side that controls it, Russia. And that's what the Sunday's report said. By far the most likely cause of the collapse was an explosion charge detonated in a small passageway in the enormous concrete block at the bottom of the dam, destroying the dam. And the newspaper cites engineers and explosive experts. According to these, however, only a complete examination of the dam could reveal what led to the destruction. Ukraine accuses Russia of intentionally blowing up the dam, and many international experts also believe that as most likely. And to be honest, I believe that too. But if you want to know more about what's going on this planet, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.